Guys? It is Aniki here. I meant to make this video this past weekend, just been really busy. But today I was also busy, but I decided to skip cardio at the gym in exchange for being able to make this video essentially. So, with that out of the way, it's actually going to be my first theory video that I do on the channel. And the reason for this is it's also a very peculiar theory because what we're talking about is Bakugo's Endgame, right? Where his character direction is going, because a lot of us don't see necessarily a clear, final boss for Bakugo. And that's a big thing that you see people talk about all the time. We know that Deku's taking on Shigaraki at the end. We can pretty much tell that Toga versus Uravity is being set up. Dabi versus Shoto is being set up. You could argue that because of the fact that Ida was the man who ran ahead and got Stain put in jail, Ida versus Spinner is possibly on the horizon as Spinner becomes his own better, more competent combatant, and maybe Gecko shows us some extra abilities that we didn't expect it to have. So you have these characters and they all have clear direction of where they might be going in the future, where you could see them who their opponents will be in the end game. You have Kirishima with Gigantomachia and how Gigantomachia showed up and Kirishima froze. He couldn't move, and his character arc, part of that was moving even when he's afraid, and being able to face down the guy that put him in that emotional complex would be the last hurdle to overcoming that. But then there's Bakugo. Bakugo, who's a character who has dealt with villains, who's attacked villains, who's fought villains, who back at the USJ managed to corner Kodagiri. You have all these moments where Bakugo's interacting with villains, but there is no one-to-one rivalry being established here in the same way that there seems to be a rivalry dichotomy being established amongst these other characters. And that's because, in my opinion, Bakugo's character arc is not inherently indicative of one that needs a final combat against the villain to be completed. In fact, I would say that Bakugo's entire character arc is what would happen if the shonen protagonist didn't get plot armor, in the sense that when you're a loud, abrasive, rude person, you don't get a harem. You don't get a bunch of friends. You get a few guys that really mess with your energy, hence the Bakugo squad, where you've got Kirishima and Denki Kaminari even calls him Kachan, and you've got Sarah, who hangs out with him a bit, where you've got that whole thing going on, but you don't see him with a bunch of women. You don't see, everybody oh wow, you're so impressive. You don't get gas like that when you're the kind of personality that Bakugo has. And in a way, he kind of calls out the fact that the shonen trope where the guy is this loud, this abrasive, and an idiot gets nowhere. You need to at least be smart and skilled to be this abrasive and aloof and tactless in life. And I think that's just realistic writing. That, a lot of people are kind of babied on the shonen protag that's an idiot and that just sprints through everything and doesn't have to think about the ramifications of his actions at all because everybody else covers it for him. But that's not the world that we live in within My Hero Academia, and Horikoshi is doing a great job of establishing that. Now, I think that Bakugo is essentially the future Nomu Buster. And it's going to get even more complex from there. But what I mean by that is just Deku's quirk is not necessarily optimized for fighting a Nomu. Even Shoto's quirk isn't necessarily the best for fighting a Nomu. Yes, he can freeze them in place depending on how strong they are. He was able to freeze the mindless Nomu, but he wasn't. That trick isn't working on high end, right? He's flying, he's staying in the air, he's just gonna whip you into a building, he's regenerating through your flames, unless you can completely destroy his brain. And that's kind of where Bakugo comes in, because one of the things that we know is that as you get better with your quirk, your precision improves, your skills improve, your overall potential DC improves. Bakugo's AP shot is actually one of the most disgusting moves that we've seen. And before you try to correct me, because you're well, Seiji Shishikura took the AP shot and he was perfectly fine. Context. Even after Bakugo uses his AP shot auto fire cannon and destroys multiple of those meat projectiles, he also directly states, I toned down the blast volume so that I could use it on humans. Now here's the thing to remember. When we see Endeavor versus Nomu, we see Endeavor use flames to just slice through buildings. Buildings are often made with concrete lining, steel lining, something like that. When we've seen Bakugo use his AP shot on concrete, it just blew a hole straight through it, cracked it in half, caused it to almost fall on All Might's dome. Almost ended the game for the homie right there. Now let's imagine flesh getting a hole punched in it the same way that, concrete would. Concrete is considerably more durable than flesh. The Nomus are shown to burn and like interact with destructive powers in the same way that flesh does, just slightly more durable. So it's not irrational to assume that if Bakugo later on has further development, that he's going to be fully capable of being a Nomu buster. Imagine, the USJ Nomu even like coming at him and he just full power AP shots it in the left knee. All right, it's falling. Boom, shoots off an arm. Boom, shoots off, like he's just blasting it until he can get close enough to it and just blow off its brain. That's the kind of kit we're dealing with here. An AP auto fire rapid cannon shot, AP shot rapid fire cannon at full blast. If he can maintain that, could shred any Nomu. Whether it's a high end or not, it's going to get a bunch of holes blown in it. It's going to have its momentum slowed. It's going to have to take the time to heal up. And eventually its brain will be vulnerable and able to be blown away. The idea of being able to, if you can blow through a foot of concrete, you can probably blow off somebody's dome, especially if their brain is visible. I'm just saying. However, that is not the culmination of Bakugo's arc in my mind. Where Bakugo's endgame is actually with himself being turned into the Nomu. Now, some of you might find that idea very, like, where is that coming from? That's out of left field. Like, that would never happen. Like, but like, here's the thing: we all agree that Bakugo does have some death flags. He's a character that has to overgrow like his emotional traumas or his pain, rather. I shouldn't say he's traumatized because that's not exactly accurate. But he has to get over his own personal psychological hurdles. And the reason for this is, in both examples that Bakugo has been captured by the League, he's been saved by specifically All Might. You look back to the Sludge Villain incident, and yes, Midoriya almost saved him, but the thing is that Midoriya almost saved him, as in he went in, drew a lot of attention, and eventually motivated All Might to act, but everything that Midoriya did was fruitless. He was literally pulling away at Sludge with his bare hands, only to watch it seal right back up, as Bakugo, for the most part, was blowing away any of the sludge that meaningfully got removed. In fact, you go on to see that the Sludge Villain, after he already got folded by All Might, viewed Bakugo's quirk as potentially capable of damaging All Might. Bakugo's quirk is one that is desirable for villains. The DC potential on it is nuts. The sheer applications of it, nuts. The wielder of it, kinda nuts. And so you have this moment, but like, again, All Might's there, saves Bakugo, stops him from getting captured, stops his body from being taken over. Then you go forward, another like 60 chapters, and he's captured by the League of Villains. Once again, the Vanguard Action Squad is right in front of Deku. Deku does everything he can. He's got a quirk. He lands on Mr. Compressed. Him, Shoji, and Shoto are up there. They pulled up with the boys. And yet Deku still cannot actually save Kacchan. Instead, what happens is, once again, Deku's right there in front of him, can't save him, and he gets captured. You fast forward to Kamino incident, a bunch of people get injured. Yes, they were in an industrial area, but there was still a lot of collateral damage. Some of those blasts went for multiple city blocks. We had seen that there were drunkards wandering about. People died there. Like, there's this weird, like, disassociation or delusion that people did not die during the Kamino incident. They definitely died. Definitely died. But moving on from that, like, that was the end of the era of All Might. But both times, you notice, when Bakugo is taken by the League of Villains, or a villain, All Might is the only one who actually can effectively save him. Deku has never had to deal with the actual consequences of failing to save Kacchan, because All Might has always been there. And so the way I kind of see this going forward is that, if you remember, when he said, I refuse to even pretend to do things that I don't want to do, Shigaraki was like, I guess we'll just have to detain him. We still have other uses for him. Other uses, especially if you think back to what we recently got in around chapter 221, I want to say it was, when Shigaraki, we got like that bit of flashback when he pet his corgi and, it went Dustarino. Ujiko said, do you want me to modify him? He was willing to just turn Shigaraki into a Nomu right there. Also, kind of imagine a Nomu that could just palm things and turn it into dust. We might be in for, a reward for the fact that, like, he didn't get turned into a Nomu, but that's not the point. The reality is that they will gladly take someone, conduct experiments on them. Hell, Ujiko turned his own grandson into a Nomu. So if you think they won't grab Bakugo, if they get the chance, and make him a Nomu, I don't know what you smoking, fam, but I kind of want some of it. And the thing is, here, like, to further illustrate this, though, like the effectiveness, if Bakugo's quirk can get amped where he's more durable, where he can blow his own arm off and it won't matter because he's a Nomu with high speed regeneration, that is like the perfect thing. A lot of people have been speculating that Ground Zero would be Bakugo's hero name, and I am here to say I believe that that will be his Nomu designation. His Nomu designation will be Ground Zero because he will be the Nomu that can just blow away anything and probably be a bit unstoppable. Bakugo's character arc has constantly been him fighting himself, taking on his own challenges, beating his own mental hurdles. Where I think this culminates is Bakugo is turned into a Nomu. If you remember, the Nomu themselves can be wired so that they only take voice commands from certain people. The very first Nomu we see has zero mental, like, brainwave capacities. He only responds to orders. That's it. Shigaraki tells him what to do, he goes. The Chainsaw Nomu that the Vanguard Action Squad had was specifically modified so that it would listen to Dabi's instructions, and only Dabi's. Hood Chain, while he had some form of sentience, still followed a mission prerogative. Bakugo himself said, I will not do anything that I do not want to do. The only way to get around that, while still enabling and making him useful to the villain side, is to strip that agency of his psyche and to, program him. But the thing is that you wouldn't waste such a good quirk, such high potential, on a mid-tier Nomu. You would make it a high end. And that very intelligence will be the downfall to the plan of having Bakugo completely senselessly destroy everyone. The way I look at it is, we finally get a Deku vs. Kacchan 3. And very similarly, Deku's using, this is like later in the game, Deku's finally using Black Whip a bit, maybe 2 or 3 more quirks. He's way more comfortable fighting in the air. They both go, Ground Zero, as he's now known as, manages to pull him to the, smash him into the ground, similar to the way he beat him in Deku vs. Kacchan 2. And then, after seeing that, he realizes this is where Bakugo has been. Bakugo is this Nomu, and he calls him Kacchan. For a brief moment, we finally have a Nomu sentient enough to realize who he is. But Bakugo, being who he is, would not stand there and tolerate staying a Nomu, knowing that at any moment he's losing his agency. And so for me, I could see him doing the same thing that he did during the exam. Die. Throws Deku and explodes his own fucking brain against the wall, because that's the only way to kill a Nomu. It would complete the third time as the charm. It would be another moment in which Deku could not save Bakugo, but because it was Bakugo's own choice, once again Bakugo saves himself in this regard, just like Bakugo chose to escape the villains by exploding away and going with his friends. It's all there. Bakugo realizing that he can't be the #1 hero. Bakugo coming to terms with the fact that the world does not need him anymore and that he's no longer in a position to be an asset to the world. The fact that in reality is he's gotten away from death twice already. That's the final straw. For Deku, you see him, we know he's got to lose All Might, but Deku hasn't had a lot of truly close personal damaging losses. I think the death of All Might, having Bakugo fall in front of him, knowing that once again his hands were within reach and he could not save him, would be possibly the most heart-wrenching death that we could have in My Hero Academia, having watched Bakugo grow, develop. But also for the League of Villains, it would make sense to take out the guy who's most effectively dismantling your Nomus, because you can't tell me that being able to blow holes through the concrete in the same way that Endeavor was tearing apart skyscrapers isn't gonna do damage when a Nomu pulls up. 1 second of immobility, let's just say Shoto and Bakugo pull up, as they often do together. Shoto freezes the thing, boom, 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 head's gone. Don't even have to worry about him mastering his flames. The head's gone because the AP shot took care of it. To me, it's there. It checks out. I'm not saying this will happen. I'm not saying this is guaranteed to happen. I'm just saying that the possibility of Bakugo becoming a Nomu, designation Ground Zero, and having to off himself in order to protect the society and his last act as a hero, being completely twisted into something he never wanted to be, but dying as what he's always chosen to be, that sounds like the perfect culmination of a character arc with somebody who's had to get over a lot of hangups over arrogance and choosing the right path. And is it a little cliche? A little bit, but I don't think that's going to stop it from hurting your feelings if it happens. This is just something I was thinking about the other day. I was talking to my buddy Squidward, and he asked me about whether or not I thought Nomus could ever get sentience. This is kind of how I would see like the sentient Nomu path like having the most impact, because otherwise they're just big dudes who like are smart enough to not listen to the League of Villains but do so anyway, or do so because of like programming chips. I don't know if I see them getting that smart enough to like rebel against the League, because they could still get dusted by like Shiggy, or like Dabi could still probably one-shot most of them due to the temperature of his flames. But yeah, so if you guys just want more like theory videos like this, let me know. This is just something that I was like thinking about, and I decided I wanted to put out there. So if you guys like my hero theories, if I'm not saying I'm going to be coming up with theories every week or anything like that. That's just not necessarily where I'm at. I'm more of an analysis guy. This just happened to be like a topic that somebody brought up, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed, share, you know, like spread the word. I'm trying to help salvage some of My Hero Academia's reputation on YouTube, because you know a lot of people say it's not deep or it doesn't have much to offer outside of the superficial, and I want to change that, because I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of social commentary, and I think there's a lot of openness and pathways for us to, you know, explore more within the context of the series and with what Horikoshi has given us. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, Twitter, wherever you want to go. Just interact with your boy. Aniki out.